the first question that a speedrunner might ask is, okay, do I even need to get out of the car? So
Ooh.
throw everything aside. You're going to drive straight into the store and you're just going to grab things off the shelf.
Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we unpack the messy, beautiful intersection of creativity and business with the artists, marketers, and founders shaping our culture. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Kenneth Fitzgerald, designer and author, Kalika Sharma, founder of Antidote FX, and John Kane, founder of Optic Nerve. I'm forever grateful for the supporters of this podcast, and we are always open to more sponsors that align with our brand. That said, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a strategic. There we go. Epic Made is a strategic studio helping brands turn ideas into unforgettable animated content, campaign visuals, and story-driven creative that actually connects and turns viewers into fandom. We work with the best brands in gaming, entertainment, tech, and pop culture to make their ideas feel bigger, clearer, and harder to ignore. So if your brand has a campaign, launch, pitch, or story that needs to stand out, visit epicmade.net and let's make something epic. Almost did that without fumbling, but that's all right. It's all organic over here.
Yeah, yeah.
so, so with us today we have Eric Koziel, Eric Koziel, director of systems and product at Azra Games and author of Speedrun Science. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks, Carl. Great to be
Man,
here.
just started fumbling again. Sorry about that. So it's Koziel, Eric Koziel. I
Right?
practiced this 5 times and still managed to mess it up. Anyways, all right. So Eric spent a decade dissecting games before stepping into a role, putting them together at Azra Games. With a background in cybersecurity research and engineering at MIT, he applies a scientific mindset to uncovering what makes games tick, validating what's possible, and modeling how systems impact players. He's renowned for his contributions to video game speedrunning, reverse engineering, and gaming science, continuing to push new frontiers in how we understand digital worlds. Love that, Eric. Eric's really, really deeply in the weeds of like the world behind code of video games, right? So this is really cool
Yep.
stuff, man. Obviously, I think you've played a video game or two. You have every controller ever
Just
made in the
just a
history of
few.
time
Yeah.
back there, and not to mention the endless supply of video games. Every kid's dream, for sure. At least in our generation, right? I was looking
Uh-huh.
at that like, man, we could hang out all day, eat pizza and Doritos and Diet Coke, which I
Oh
hopefully
yeah.
we all grew out of that, but that part of it, but still love video games hugely. So, anyways,
Uh-huh.
super pumped to have you on the show. Before we jump into today's topic, I'd love for the audience to get to know you a little bit. So, how did you go from like breaking apart games to building them?
I mean, I would say that honestly, it might not be apparent. It wasn't apparent to me at front, but those are actually two very similar things already. And the fact of the matter is, if you're well, let me step back a little bit. So my own background in gaming is just I've always been I wouldn't say a competitive gamer in the like esports vein, but just the love of games and trying to get the most out of them. I mean, when we were kids, uh, rental stores were much a bigger of a thing, and you had to really work to get as much out of the game that you rented in that week as you could before it went back to the store.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's just well, you didn't have that many options necessarily to go out and just get everything, try them all out. You're stuck with, okay, I've got this one console that we got 2 Christmases ago,
Yep.
and these are the exact 3 games that we own. So I better learn the heck out of all of those
Yep.
and really enjoy them. And what that means is that you can have that core experience. You can have the narrative experience that the game is designed around, but then you've still got the game at the end. And that narrative, experiencing again, might get some of the same feelings, but it's really starts to become okay. This is the playground now, where I want to still have a great experience. I enjoy the game, or in some cases, I don't enjoy the game. Taking revenge on games is an entirely other branch of things that we can talk about later. But diving in and finding new ways to make it fresh, make it enjoyable, and go from there. And let's say, almost, oh gosh, Yeah, 25 years ago, now it's like I started to branch out into some of those aspects, picking up games that I loved. Internet was newer, but there's still enough out there. You can start, find videos for speedrunning, and that was kind of my first exposure. And this is the core idea of people taking a game and throwing everything that is like normal about it out the window.
Yeah.
Anything goes, so long as you're trying to accomplish the goal and you're not doing any particularly funny stuff. Doing externally applied modifications to memory or the console or whatever else. Generally, those are put aside. There might be some special cases, but all the same is this is the game in its core element as it was released. How fast can you beat it? That's what speedrunning asks. And as it turns out, when you start to do that, you have to think about things in entirely new light. And the way that the analogy that I'd like to go to, and I'll put you on the spot here for this, Carl.
Sure.
Um, so you have to go to the grocery store, kind of a normal, mundane thing. Let's
Sure.
just say you're driving there to pick up some groceries, but you really need to figure out how to go to the grocery store as fast as you possibly can. What is your thought process on making that happen?
Yeah, well, that's great. And my wife and I, as you're talking about this, like my wife and I is the consummate speed runner for the grocery store, and I love to
Hmm.
shop, which is like a total gender role reversal in normal
Uh-huh.
households, I think. But yeah, so my process would be, well, we need an exact list of what we need to do, what items I need in order to complete this mission to the grocery store, because I clearly am going because I need things that I really don't even like to leave the house much anymore. So we
Hmm.
get this list, of course, of objectives, right? So that would be, bread, milk, some laundry detergent, dog food, whatever. And then I guess in my head, if I really need if I'm pressed for time, now the idea is, well, where are those things in the store? And what order makes the most sense for me to hit them in a logical path where I'm not backtracking a bunch and then get back to the register and get out to the car and go home. So that would be
Hmm.
my thought process, which I would never do because I'm way too ADD. I'd just get in there and whirlwind around and grab the shit and get out, and that would
Hmm.
be it. So
So what you just described is a full process of I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to get the things that I need. I've already organized it and I'm planned it out and go there. Um, that is one layer. Now let's start to drill into some specific pieces. So parking. What is your
ooh,
optimal strategy for parking?
yeah. Well, at the spot by my house, there's like a little side lot that no one
Mhm.
ever parks in for some reason, even though it's like right there, right closer. They want to park like in front. Maybe it's like a safety and visibility thing for some people, but so I get that little side spot for sure because I can just scoot in and out real quick.
Mhm. So let me put it this way. The key problem of going to the grocery store is actually you decompose it into a bunch of different problems, and each one of those you can come up with some optimal solution for, and it
Yep.
might
Yep.
chain together. But the other side of it is in the speedrunner mind, you throw common sense out the window in some cases.
Yep.
So the first question that a speedrunner might ask is, okay, do I even need to get out of the car? So
Ooh.
throw everything aside. You're going to drive straight into the store and you're just going to grab things off the shelf.
So I mean, yeah, like that could work if you're on a scooter or like a little Segway or like, some roller skates. Like you could change the whole thing up, right? Like
Hmm.
depending on how
Yeah.
close the store is,
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, didn't have that. Didn't think about that.
Yep. There's all those little bits and pieces, but okay, let's say that it's sane, and we're not going to start driving through, or we'll obey the
Committing
laws as
felonies in
they
the process
exist.
probably isn't the
Yeah.
win.
Uh, so pulling it back to you're in the parking lot for the grocery store. Okay, how do you figure out the best place to park? Is it going to
Yeah.
be the closest to the door, or do you want somewhere between a door and the cart return? Or in the case of, well, that's ideal. You've got an entire parking lot that's open, but that's not really typical for a grocery store. You've got a whole bunch of cars, and you might have some spots that are open, some spots that are not.
Yeah.
Your strategy needs to account for that. And this is a lot of things that, as a normal player, like I'm abstracting it to real world right now, but these are situations in which, for a really optimal setup, you don't just need this is the ideal outcome. You need this is the typical outcome with some ideals baked in, and a target of opportunity appears, you go for it. But all the rest of the time, you're going to spend more time looking for a spot than you would have if you just parked at the end and ran in and did everything else. And then you've got it transformed into some mathematical construct to say, okay, the probability of this spot being my targeted one, and how close it is, how much travel time do I need? Is it close to a cart return? Like, you can see how this just branches and goes into some really different places. And at the end of the day, you're going to the grocery store. It's a mundane task that just breaks out into so many different pieces. And this is what I'm saying is just something that people can understand that has to go through what is the process for optimizing a playthrough of a game.
Yeah.
Um, jumping over this one box to get there. Well, okay, did you really need to jump in the first place? Is there anything up there that you actually need? Can we skip going to this entire world because we don't actually need the thing to progress to the end? Like, that chain of reasoning is something that's really impactful and actually makes an excellent puzzle, and part of what gets people hooked on the hobby.
Oh, I love it too because, like you said, this is like in many, I would say in most cases, and definitely in the old school cases, I'm sure nowadays developers are thinking about these things, but like early on in the craft, like I feel like they weren't like, hey, how's someone going to do this on a speed run when they're making their levels? And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure that comes in now, but it becomes this whole other way to enjoy something, right? Like it was fun to beat every single level in Mario 1, like Super Mario Brothers. But it was also fun as a kid to go back and go, oh, well, there's that warp pipe here. But you can skip to world 4 and then skip right to world 8. And I can be in world 8 in like 2 minutes and like not lose any lives. And then I can do this, and just like get into all the different pieces of it. And I remember watching someone do a speed run where they're in world 8 and they jumped up into a corner where there was a coin block. So you hit the invisible coin block, come back, boom, jump in the corner, crouch down. And when you stand up, it forces you through the wall and you can like skip half the level. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, so you get into these like real crazy things. But you also talking about like opportunity stuff when you have like random seeded games like Minecraft. Like I was just looking up some of the records there, like beating the Ender Dragon in 7 minutes and 7 seconds is like, it's almost disrespectful to all the work that went into the game, right? But there's no way you're doing that unless you deeply understand the whole game. And this is like all the things, right?
Yep.
But yeah, like it's crazy. But 7 minutes and 7 seconds to beat the Ender Dragon, that's
It's
incredible. So
It's all about knowledge of the game, like you said, and
yeah,
something where it is randomly seeded, like Minecraft. That's just one aspect of what can be done. So, in a variety of speedruns, that might be a fixed seed run in which you already know the world layout. You
right.
know where everything is. You made it so that you are close enough to your objectives that you can feasibly get to everything as quickly as possible. There's other varieties that are, I would say, less tracked, but more competitive, day to day, which would be random seeds. So you get on with some buddies and you pick the same seed. Nobody knows anything about it. You jump in and you test your skills there because that's a different test of knowledge.
For
And
sure.
so there's a whole variety of those things. But overall, what we're getting at is that there's some deep understanding of the world inside the game.
Yep.
And that world inside the game is oftentimes modeled after the real world, what we know, in the whole grocery shopping experience. My example with driving the car straight into the doors and picking up everything. Uh, yeah, logically, we don't think of that because we already know there's layers of rules that would logically stop you from doing that. But games may or may not have similar rules. So you
Right.
can start to explore some of those things and find even where things are expected or mostly enforced, the reality is that game, any game ever, is made under restricted resources, whether it's time, budget, people. There's only so much that can go in and establish the core vision. And at the end of the day, you're going to run out of money at some point, and you're not going to be able to get to that perfection of here's the exact thing that we want. No other aspects come through. And that leaves a lot of opportunity. And honestly, I think that it's not a flaw that there's finite time to work on these things. It's actually a great opportunity for taking the right risks, the right shortcuts, so that the core elements of what you want to be the game to be there. And then everything else is for people like me who want to pull on every little corner and say, "Oh, haha, I see what you did here. Let me just get around that door that you didn't want me to." And that discovery itself is electrifying.
It
I
is.
equate it to it's exploring a new frontier. You've got the common sense of this is the game, and you found something that violates that. Okay, now where else can I apply this? What else can I do? And it's that chain of gradual unraveling that allows a lot of the crazier things that currently occur in speedrunning.
And there's an adjacent thing in that space of that deep, like I'm exploring all the walls and all the mapping and all the like what like that looks interesting over there. What happens if I go in there and jump in that little corner? And so sometimes you break the game, but sometimes, and my favorite part is when the developers made a little secret over there for you, and there's some sort of little reward, right? And like that
Mhm.
really, that's my favorite. That's when things feel really polished and really engrossing. And I think I think like God of War has done this really well. Zelda did it like endless. Zelda was the first one. It's like, well, I'm gonna bomb every spot in this dungeon,
Oh
and
yeah.
like there'll be a secret room here, and it's like, oh my god, the noise goes off, and you're like, you and they've kept those audio cues for the entire series, which is always just so rewarding. Um, but I love how it's just a different depth of experience for the user, and just exploring like what are the ways, like you said, it's this intended way that the game was made, but like now there's all these other ways that the community takes and makes it their own and experiences it
Mhm.
in the ways that they want to. So I love, like, how do you think maybe like reverse engineering can uncover hidden systems and secrets inside of games in a way that like people might be surprised about?
Well, reverse engineering is, at the end of the day, part of scientific method.
Yep.
You've got the game, which is largely black box. You might have some intuitive ways that it works, but when you start asking questions that have objective outcomes, and that's essentially what a lot of speedrunning is, which is to say, what is the fastest way to go from A to B? Uh, that requires some very tight knowledge and
Yep.
some very tight controls on what you can even do. Because okay, from A to B with three bombs, with zero bombs, with Yoshi, like every change to what A is or what B is changes that problem space. And at really it comes down to cataloging and understanding that hidden world. So the reverse engineering part is a method of getting there. Um, my background, I have full training, formal training with reverse engineering as a practice. I remember in some of my master's classes, I was up there in front of a bunch of my colleagues and Air Force officers and otherwise presenting on. So here's how this bug propagates in Super Mario World, and that was part of our capstone for the reverse engineering class. One of the pieces, and it's something that is relatable that a lot of people enjoy. That really puts into practice what's actually going on there. And what reverse engineering allows you to do is establish that formal process for getting to the knowledge that you can only estimate.
Yeah.
Um, the key example is something when you are playing, let's say, a Super Mario game. You understand that when you hold forward, you're going to move and eventually you're going to run. And as you press certain buttons, that's going to interact and your speed will change. But the key part in optimizing that is okay, at what points do I actually accelerate? What is the minimum amount that I need to operate? What is the actual speed so I can integrate under certain circumstances, like how quickly I'm going to get from A to B? And that's really drilling in. And to do that, you run targeted experiments. Where available, there's all sorts of software tools that enable this. Otherwise, there's, especially for modern games, there's plenty of pen and paper ways as well, doing some rough timing so that at least you can understand a system. But that's honestly a lot of the fun, is you have an idea of this is probably how it works. But getting to those really fine details is what really makes it interesting. And then you start to see, well, oh, this speed range is something that we can achieve, but we can get there faster if you do XYZ thing first.
Yeah.
Okay, now you put it all together and you're starting to figure out the world. And then you apply that to gravity, how fast you're falling. Are there ways to make you fall faster? Are there ways to interact with these objects so that you do it once instead of three times in a row, like they would normally expect you to? Over and over and over. That's the phase of discovery, and you're gradually building out this world knowledge so that you put the actual limitations beyond just what is the intuition of where the game goes to this is how it was actually coded, and this is the limits of what is possible under current knowledge.
I love it, and I could just think. So I've been doing a big concentration on video game guests in the past, the past few
Hmm.
episodes, and then also the next few coming up. And I can just see, like, some people are in charge of narrative and game design and all the different, and all these different things. And there's so much time and energy and effort that goes into these things. And I can just see them going like, oh man, they just broke my shit. Like, it's just like, I spent so much time on that. Like, it's like, and again, it's not undermining it, that it still works within the game, but it's just funny. And they probably wouldn't be upset about it, but just the idea is just hilarious to think about. So
And I just want to touch on that for a moment because that is something that comes up as a common sentiment, or what people think is like, oh, when players go out and they start violating these things, they're ruining the spirit of the game. And it depends on what you're trying to go for. And honestly, the people who speedrun any given game, break it to pieces, do everything, those are probably the players in the world who love that game the most.
the
Like
most.
they are enjoying the heck out of it. And regardless of the intended narrative experience, you have to understand too that these are people who spent 10, 100 times the amount of actual playtime as a normal player, really digging into what this game is and figuring it out and loving every bit of it. So,
There's super fans, without a doubt. Like,
yeah,
probably every single one of them. You don't get that level of a nuance and understanding to be able to even find that thing without playing it 10 times, 100 times more than everybody else. So
yeah. And
100%
and I
agree
think a
with
lot
you.
of developers understand this too. It's
Sure.
just a matter of don't think of speedrunners as the enemy of game developers. Sometimes it'll come up as just like a humorous, comical thing, like, "Oh, the game
Right.
devs hate this."
Yeah,
Um,
like I
it-
just did.
that's basically never the case. Really, it's the speedrunners are finding, well, just the flaws of the fact that it's a product, and again, those finite resources come in. They're enjoying it for what it is, and in the most extreme corners of how you had to implement it, given those constraints. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
No, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's there's no way to split that hair any other way. Like, these people are the people that have best and most deeply enjoyed they can tell you everything about your game, right? Because
Hmm.
they're in it. um and I love it, and like, for me, like, every time I play a Zelda game, like, I absolutely get every single heart case, like every single heart case on every single Zelda. I've played every single one, right? Like, that's just something I've stuck to since my childhood. There's a couple other games I've layered in over the years, like God of War, whenever one of those comes out, and yeah, but I've just there's a dedication. In some games, it's like I can't do it. Like, even on Zelda, like I couldn't do the Kuroks. Like, I was like, this
Hmm.
is not worth my time. Like, if I was 16, I'll be here for it. But like, I got a lot of shit to do with my life, and it isn't find every one of these Kurok seeds for. And then once I looked it up and saw you like just get, if there was some like amazing skin or something you unlocked that had some sort of intrinsic value for me, but it was literally a golden pile of shit. I was like, that's just disrespectful. So like, I was like, I just can't do this. Like, anyways, but
All
so
that
what?
trolling. Yep.
Yeah, I love it, but it's great. It's absolutely great because the completionist people will do that, right? And
Hmm.
they'll go get every one of them, and there'll be a speed runner. It's like, how fast can you get all 800 Kurks in Breath of the Wild? Right, like, and that's great. I love it. This is a community and a culture, and there's no one way to enjoy games, and I think
Hmm.
that's what people should be taking away from this. So I think it's an interesting thing, because you have such a science mind from no big deal. MIT, one of the most prestigious science schools in the world. No big deal. But what do studying games scientifically teach us about both creativity and player behavior? I feel like we've touched on this a little bit, but I'd love to hear. more formally what you think about that.
Yeah, but it'll be good to close the loop on that, and that's something that I found just in the past 4 years. I joined up with Azra Games, which is a gaming startup. They're putting out an character collector action RPG on mobile called Ungodly. That'll be coming up actually in just a couple months. Um,
Love it.
but what it really showed me is just that number one, that mindset of understanding everything about the game is turns out really helpful when you actually are designing it. And it's being able to project, okay, these are the systems that we expect to put in. These are the available items. These are the progressions. All of that stuff is basically speedrunner's backyard. Um, Understanding the knowledge, putting it into okay, here's how we can do these things. This doesn't really matter because it's like outside of any of these optimization vectors. And okay, what are the best cases and the worst cases? And that's something that comes natural because that is essentially what's bounding your player outcome. So if you think, okay, what is the absolute fastest that I can get from level 1 to 80? Uh, that's a very common thing in games today. And that's actually a huge product question because that will define, okay, what is the time that the player needs to invest to actually get there? What are the ways that they can accelerate it and so on? Um, Being able to identify those things is straightforward. You accumulate the knowledge, you know what the curves and the systems are that establish that, and then you project it out. But it's not just knowing the best. Here's the alternate case where it's not the person who's hyper optimized on exactly doing this one, but what is the typical? Maybe they optimize instead for the trade-off might be, okay, you can put a ton of time, you can put a ton of spend, and you're going to get to that level 80 mark in, I don't know, 30 days. Or you can be the player who favors short play times in just coming back each day. So your total time in the game is going to be lower, but you're going to be more efficient with that time. So you don't necessarily go and do everything. And what does that projection look like? So you might have gotten it in shorter calendar days. It might take you 50, 60, 80 days, but you'll have spent 30, 40, 50 less hours doing it than the person who did the other way. So that kind of establishes the funnel, the bounds of how you're going to operate. And those are two extremes. The vast majority of our players are not going to operate that way. They're going to operate somewhere in the middle. But now that you know what the bounds are, it's a mathematical property of, okay, what do we expect the distribution of actual players to be? And then we can gauge, okay, is this an appropriate balancing? Is this appropriate lever of the different systems? Do we need to introduce something so that it pulls back one of these bounds a little bit? That entire process is a very real circumstance that I've encountered multiple times over the last several years. And being able to plan out and just know this is the shape of the game, or this is the expected shape of the game, given our
Yeah.
decisions. Uh, how is that going to impact players, and where are those bounds going to be, and are they what we want? So, as it turns out, just applying a lot of that reverse engineering practice, projection, it's optimizing for different things now, but you can use a lot of those same approaches to identify this is what the game should be. You can make those decisions in advance rather than just judging on what it is. But it leads to a lot of the that business game design mix where you're trying to optimize, give players a good experience, and give them a reason for why to keep playing.
I love it, man. And really getting into those weeds is it's a fascinating science of such a fun and creative subject of games, right? And
Hmm.
I thinking about that, it's like every time I buy a game, it's like, it says like, they'll give you estimates like on Steam and stuff. This is 100 hours of gameplay. It's like, okay, so probably 200 for me. Like especially if it's open world and I could build some stuff, like
Uh-huh.
by the time I get to bosses, I'm usually so overpowered and I have all the things and I've done 30, especially if there's like a level grinding mechanism in it. Like I like to go slow and just do all the things, right? Like, when my wife and I play Diablo, like we're always going the wrong way, right? If we're like, we never want to go towards the end of the level. We want to make sure we explore every single corner, break every single chest, every barrel, get every chest, and that's just the way we game. But like when I play with our son and he'll jump in, he just wants to go straight to the next league. Just boom, 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 just skip everything. Like if it's not on the way, it's out. It's not
Mhm.
important, and it's like okay, so it's just interesting, just different ideas, and like you said, that's at two extremes, which is cool.
Mhm.
So breaking apart games and getting into like, okay, so we've modeled this with the exact science of how fast you can go from point A to point B, and in doing that process, you kind of famously uncovered a problem with the Dragster world record, which at the time was the longest standing video game world record. Is that correct? Do you want to pry into some of
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it was 35 years, I believe, around that time. So, just to give some background on this, 1982, Atari is big. All sorts of home game entertainment is picking up, and one of the games that came out at that time was called Dragster. Um, Put out by Activision. Um, Very different from what you can think of as Activision doing today, but
Right.
uh, it's a very simple game, but it has enough depth that it still is interesting to figure out exactly how it all works. And simply, it's a little car, and you've got go and you've got clutch, and that's basically all you can do. So you can go, and depending on when you release or press clutch, that controls when you're shifting gears and what your progression over this fixed length of track is. And the typical time, like Carl can probably play right now, and he would get a time of like 7 or 8 seconds. Um, okay, yeah, repetitive. Try again. Do it a little bit faster. Do it a little bit faster. Try a different strategy. That's the entire point of the game. This particular game had we'll call it an established record from 1982, from a particular gentleman who was not going to go too much into the details here, but he was at least integrated with some of the Activision staff, some of the other pieces. I don't think he was officially employed by them, but he joined them at trade shows and other things like that. He was known for a variety of video game exploits at the time, just doing particularly well at arcade games and other things. So there's no like upfront problem with any of that, and it was treated as just okay. Here's a common example of what would be the first speed run, for example.
Yeah.
Um, and at the time, I was writing my book. I'm going to do just a quick shameless plug. We've got
Shameless plug.
Speedrun Science. You
Let's
can,
go.
yeah, check it out at speedrunscience.com, or your favorite search will take you to the Fangamer page with it. But as I was researching for that book, I was covering sections on history, and it makes sense to cover, okay, this is the first prime example of a speed run. And it had some other notable pieces like, oh, the developers did their own modeling and determined that the fastest time is 5.54, and he got a 5.51. So how did he do it? Oh, he did something that the developers didn't expect. This is the myth. This is the myth, and it all goes great with the entire narrative of like, here's how speedrunners approach things and do it. But I started to dig in further, and I just wanted to write about it in terms of here's the facts of how it was accomplished and what was overlooked, and kept coming up short. And the so there's an entire community of people who will go in and do what are called tool assisted speedruns. So this isn't them playing one session and go. This is they have complete control of the game system. They can move frame by frame. They can monitor all the memory addresses, plan exactly the correct path. So this is as close to you can get as some perfect playthrough at the best of human knowledge. And they were capping out at 5.57. Okay, that's unusual. Let's figure out why. And so what I did is went through and reverse engineered the essentially the entire game, the speed protocol. And I say the entire game. It's in modern terms, it's not that much.
Yeah.
We're talking about a game that's two or 4 kilobytes. I forget exactly, but so the portion of code that I needed to know was pretty minuscule.
Sure.
But that entire speed routine was something that I could model out, test out, try, okay, here's the combinations of inputs, here's the progression, turn it into some state propagation. And actually, I ended up turning it into a Google Sheets spreadsheet. So I believe it's still up. Anybody can go and play Dragster in a spreadsheet if they want and see like, okay, how quickly can you come up with some set of inputs that get you there? Um, Went through all that, found what I believe to be the optimal outcomes, the best you can do, 557. So that put into doubt, okay, there must be something else that we're missing, some other piece. I opened up publicly with that, basically asked for more help with looking into it, investigating, finding out other things. And it turns out that there just wasn't anything to be had there. Um, and it was established then that, okay, this is actually canonical, fastest you can do. It wasn't just my analysis, but several follow-on analyses that modeled it different ways, reduced it to some progression space and everything else. And yep, this under all of those base assumptions, this is as fast as you can get. And the fellow with the previous record, who never participated directly in discussions, but came up through trusted intermediaries, we'll say, still held firm to his story. This is what it is. Activision confirmed it. Here's all these other things. And yeah, cue 6 to 8 months of very heated internet forum discussion to follow, where everybody has an opinion, but nobody has data.
Yeah,
And
right. Well, that's America now, but yeah.
yeah,
Anyways,
yeah. Uh, and just at the end of it, there wasn't really anything else to explore.
yeah,
That what I found was the canonical peak, the main piece, and the record was refuted. A lot of that fellow's other records were refuted as well. They were given kind of better
scrutiny.
looks
Yeah,
at the time. Um, there's a whole long saga and progression and everything else like that, but that's the short version, condensed for now. And for a little while, it actually got national news. There was a report about it in Washington Post, and I was called
yeah.
up for interviews with ESPN and stuff like that, for a game from 1982, for a record of a 5 second run of a game that most people have never heard of or seen, and
Which has two
that's the state of things.
inputs. Two inputs, right?
Two
There's not a lot of
two
variables
inputs.
here. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm looking at it, and I never even heard of the game. I was born in '85, and this one
Uh-huh.
never piqued my interest, as you can imagine. But like, yeah, we're talking about two inputs, so there's not a lot of ambiguity in the variables and things. Like, you can't do. There's not. It's not Breath of the Wild, right? Where there's like so many details. Like, that it seems like the science is the science there, right? And I'm sure you caught so much shit for just like, here are the facts that I accidentally uncovered. Like, I don't have a vendetta against anybody or like wish anyone
Hmm.
any ill will. Like, you can see like the nicest guy ever, and I'm sure the internet keyboard warriors were not friendly on all sides of this discussion. So
That's a fair characterization. Yeah.
yeah, well, you know what? Thank you for, in this world of people get to pick their own facts, standing on the facts and just saying the facts are the facts. There's no opinions or feelings behind these. This is just,
Mm,
if the facts are wrong, tell me how they're wrong, because I just science the shit out of this, right? Like, so, and we
yeah.
need that in all aspects of society. I feel like so.
Mhm.
Just kudos again there. So yeah, wow, that's an incredible story, man. So you're Omni Gamer is your handle, right? Like, that's been your
Yep.
handle for all the years, and you're out here doing reverse engineering and speed running, and you've written this book. What's next for you now? Like, what's on the horizon? What are you excited about? I know obviously you're working with Azra Games and you're doing some awesome
Hmm.
stuff there, and Ungodly, I'm sure will be amazing. I'm looking forward to checking that out, and if you want to give the users some CD keys or something, let us know. We'll put it in the show
Yeah.
notes.
Uh,
No pressure. I don't, I'm just saying. But yeah,
well, like i- in the vein of what we're discussing, there are yet more secrets to uncover, as it turns out.
sure.
And I've got a couple of I'll call them secret projects in the background, that are building up to help. Well, a lot of what I've been able to internalize and establish as a skill, and hopefully be able to provide to other folks now, so that they don't necessarily need all of the extra training, the experience of diving into these older computer architectures, trying to figure out exactly how these algorithms work out, things like that, that would support them. But yeah, I guess in a similar vein to Dragster, something that I have been working on the side. Um, is another game, and this is not speedrunning related, but I would say it's probably closer to my cybersecurity background. Um, there is another NES game. called Treasure Master. I don't suppose you've heard of this game. Yep, I doubt anybody listening to the podcast has either, but that is just fine. Treasure Master is a very special game because it was a tie-in game for an MTV contest. The entire point of the game is that it's built up. Uh, they will put out a commercial on MTV and describe to you, okay, put in this password into the game and then play, and you're going to get to a super secret special level. And at the end of that, you're going to call some helpline and give them like the password that it gives you, and you're going to win some prizes if you do that. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so complicated. And on the box, it purports, oh, it uses the toughest NSA grade encryption algorithms to prevent cheating and all the rest of that stuff. And it's a video game. You don't necessarily expect that it's really going to go all out on security principles and all the rest of that. But it turns out it's not perfect, but it does have a particularly difficult cryptographic engine built into it, at least for the search space that's involved. Now, this contest has been over for more than 30 years. So that's not the point. But what was discovered in the last 15, 20 years, uh, that contest opened up a brand new special level that without the password, you'd never be able to reach. It turns out that there's a second such level that they planned as a possible, like, additional contest, perhaps. And that one never had a password revealed for it.
Oh,
So now we know that there's this extra level in this game that should be accessible, that all the data points that it should be accessible, nobody knows the password. What do you do?
you
And
gotta crack the code.
you got to crack the
Or
code. And
one of the co-founders of MTV has been on this show 3 times, so we could reach out to him and say who was working on this project because he was mostly on the
oh,
animation
we
production
we
side.
actually do know the developer.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, we reached out to him, and he possibly had it scribbled on some of his like old archive notes, but for the most part, we consider it lost to time.
okay,
Um,
okay. Well, then
that
Plan B is try to crack this encryption.
Crack the code. Yep. And this is something that's been an ongoing effort for me and a variety of other community members for honestly 10 years or more at this point.
Okay.
On and off, like not direct focus things, but recently there's been some breakthroughs, and we're getting that much closer. So by the time this episode airs, who knows? Maybe we will have found the key. But that's another secret of, well, the world's behind the games, where applying actual technical rigor to something that to the rest of the world really does not matter. This is a cipher that's been used exactly twice, and
Yeah.
we're trying to just figure out one other version of it. But there's just a huge amount of fun in essentially trying that out, figuring out, okay, how can we try to adjust this? How can we reduce the search space, break it down, and get to a plausible password that will let people go through and play this level that until now has never been seen naturally. So
Well,
there you go.
no pressure on the developers. I hope they did a good job on this level that they, have never like some of the brightest minds in the world now are working on this.
Uh-huh.
We crack it open, and it was like, hey, it's just like all conceptual, nothing's actually fleshed out. Like it's
The level has actually been played, but only
oh,
through basically estimated means. So we can't get there naturally, but we can guess at what the code that would load that level looked like. And we've gotten to a point where at least that estimate is enough to make the level completely playable. It's just there's no way to get there without essentially hacking the memory to make it those kinds of things. You can't derive those yet from the key without the actual password. So
well, the encryption is working, man. That's incredible. Even that, like, even with AI, we can't really get all. That's pretty amazing. Wow. That is like a really cool story and good a lesson for all the developers listening to this over the next years or whatever they however how much life this episode has. Like, you never know where your game is going to end up and how people are going to consume it and all the different ways that the community will embrace it, up into including cool things like this. Like, and what an amazing idea that MCV had. They were so forward thinking with so many cool things. Like, I'm not even surprised that that was an MTV idea, right? Like,
yep.
how cool is that?
The game
So
itself is not not great. But that aside, it was a great experience, and it leads to a very fun intellectual pursuit now.
I love it, man. And intellectual pursuits, the core of growth and development of humanity. We combine
Hmm.
that with our creativity, which this is creative brain thinking, right? Like I think a lot of times people talk about creativity like you have to pick up a pen and draw on something, or you're not creative, and it's like every human being's creative. Manifesting things from an idea is creating, and therefore creative, right? So like all of the ways that people apply their thinking is creative thinking. And I wish we would separate this like idea that like creative is like, yeah, I gotta have a crayon and it's so like diminishing. And it's really not. Like creative thinking can show up in spreadsheets, it can show up in writing, it can show up in any way that you express yourself, like any way that you make a thing. So I want to leave people with that. So I love this. I love this idea that you're diving into this obscure, ridiculous video game just because the idea was cool. And it's like, and it's called Treasure Masters. Like that's cool, right? Like, what's this
Yeah.
treasure? Like the whole thing feels. I can totally see how that would get you excited to just like, can we do this? And what
Hmm.
does that look like? So I love it, man. And I love the way that you're applying so much science and critical thinking and approaching games in a way that is very atypical for the typical gaming enthusiast. So kudos to that and keep pushing it, man. It's amazing.
Hmm.
So as we're wrapping up here on this episode, which went so fast, I love this podcast. I get to talk to so many cool people about all my favorite things. It's just absolutely amazing. So, but I would like to see, is there anyone or anything in your career that you'd like to shout out to the audience? Maybe a mentor, a valuable resource, a favorite client, anything
Oh,
like that.
well, I mean, for the most part, I can't go anywhere without thanking my wife for supporting me every step of the way, for my putting up with my kind of crazy off the wall ideas, and there's a variety of times where it's she'll ask me, "Hey, what are you working on now?" And I'll like tell her all about this video game stuff, and I know it all over her
Yeah,
head. But the point is that she's supporting me
yeah,
in knowing that it's not only making me happy, it's leading to broader good, and building out kind of what we need to just, well, keep the world moving.
yeah.
And then, in addition to that, also give a shout out to Mark Otero. He's the current CEO of Azra Games, and I joined when Azra Games was just starting, and Mark was the one to kind of pull me in. And basically, he was the one who took a chance on somebody who had never been in games to start up this brand new high idea gaming studio, and to play a pivotal role in the development of the economy, the systems, putting it all together, making it cohesive. He saw the value in how I approach games, and how I apply science and knowledge. And he knew that that would be invaluable as we stood up our own product. So early on, he took the chance, and I would say it paid off.
I
And
love
I
that,
really
man.
thank him for that.
Well, good for Marco for having that vision and leadership to know, what the team needs and how to
Hmm.
build a good team. So, glad to hear that, man. That's amazing. All right.
Hmm.
So, and shout out to LinkedIn as a platform where we connected. Networking on LinkedIn's been hugely valuable for me. So, I'm gonna have to get them to sponsor this podcast eventually if we keep meeting great people on LinkedIn. So,
Yeah.
cool, man. All right, so we've been talking to Eric Koziel. You can check him out on X at the Omni Gamer, and anywhere you search for Speedrun Science, you'll be able to find his book. But if listeners want to follow up with you directly, is there a better place?
I've got a page, a personal page, kind of treat it like a portfolio, although it's probably in need of a little updating. But on there, there's a submission form that you can use to reach out to me directly. I believe OmniGamer at speedrunscience.com will also get messages to me. So yeah, anywhere that they'd like. I'm also on LinkedIn, Eric Koziel. I believe searching for OmniGamer will also let you find me there as well. And yeah, I have a footprint, a variety of other places. So if you look for me, you'll probably find me.
Awesome, and we'll link all that in the show notes. All right, Eric. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And if this sparked an episode, and everyone, if this sparked anything for you, please share it with a friend or colleague. And we will see you all next time. Thank you. We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.